Welcome back, intrepid cricket fans. It's another lockdown quiz for the Lord's Taverners and with me, Daniel Norcross. Our first one that we did a few weeks ago raised a magnificent 800 odd pounds. We want to do better than that this time. We want to get more of you involved and we want to get more money for this truly fantastic cause. The Lord's Taverners is the UK's leading youth cricket and disability sports charity, and I'm very proud to be a supporter of this fantastic organisation. We are laying the foundations for a positive future by building inclusive communities, breaking down barriers and empowering disadvantaged and disabled young people to fulfil their potential. We provide a lifeline for some of the most at-risk communities in the UK and tackle issues such as knife crime, unemployment, radicalisation, and also isolation, something I know we're all feeling right now. But without our programmes, many of our participants would experience this all year round. If you want to help and you can help our work, you can make a donation by following the links on screen that you'll see a ticker tape rolling along during the course of this quiz. So just to remind you, same format as last time, 5 rounds, 10 questions in most of the rounds, 2 points on offer for each question. This is largely because sometimes you get it mostly right, in which case I think you should be entitled to get a point. But you get 2 points if you get the answer absolutely bang on. We've got, just like last time, a couple of visual rounds. We'll show you some pictures of cricket grounds later on. You've got to guess what they are and where they are. And we've also got those fiendishly difficult mashups that I think our man Josh is responsible for. I find them extraordinarily hard. Hopefully you guys are a bit better at that sort of thing than me. The rest of the questions, the written questions, I am hugely indebted to a couple of people. The marvellous Marcus Berkman, who wrote a cricketing miscellany. And in there, basically, I've just wandered through it, finding interesting things and turning them into questions. So thank you to him, Marcus Berkman. Go out and buy his book. It is truly splendid. And also Kit Harris, the big noise at Iceland Cricket, who has sent me a bunch of questions. And I've kind of mangled them up a bit and made them a little bit easier, because feedback we got last time was that could just tone down the difficulty level just a notch, a soupçon. But I'm not going to patronize you. Some of these questions are tough. Some of them are quite easy, but some of them are tough. And only the strongest will survive. So let's crack on with the quiz. Let's crack on with round 1. And these are all written questions. Question 1. All of these, don't forget, worth 2 points. Question 1. He scored 10,927 test runs and was nicknamed Tugger, T-U-G-G-A. His brother scored 8,029 test runs and was nicknamed Afghan. Who is he? He scored 10,927 test match runs, was nicknamed Tugger, and his brother scored 8,029 runs and was nicknamed Afghan. Who is he? That's question 1. Question 2. In July 2009, which county ground was elevated to test status for the first Ashes test of that summer? It was rewarded with a thrilling draw as Monty Panesar and Jimmy Anderson held on to save the game. Just need you to tell me where that was. So July 2009, which county ground was elevated to test status for the first Ashes test of that summer? It was rewarded with a thrilling draw as Monty Panesar and Jimmy Anderson held on to save the game. England 9 wickets down. I'm sure you remember the game. Where was it? Question 3. Who bowled the first ball to have been clocked by the speed gun at over 100 miles per hour? 100.8 miles per hour, to be precise. It was delivered in a World Cup match in 2003. The batsman who faced that searing delivery, Nick Knight, played it quite safely for a single. So who was that bowler? The first bowler to have been clocked by the speed gun at over 100 miles an hour. It was delivered in a World Cup match in 2003. The batsman, Nick Knight. We know the lovely Nick Knight. Splendid hair, I find he's got. Nick Knight played it safely out for a single. Question 4. In February 2013, Which burly left-handed opener became the first man to captain his country in 100 test matches? Unsurprisingly, he also claims the most victories as captain with 51. So which burly left-handed opener in February 2013 became the first man to captain his country in 100 test matches? He also claims the most victories as captain with 51. Who is that man, that burly left-hander? Lovely fellow, incidentally. Question 5. Only 2 bowlers have twice taken a hat-trick in test matches since the Second World War. One of them is a Pakistani left-armer. Who is he? Only 2 bowlers have taken twice a hat-trick in test matches since the Second World War. One of them is a Pakistani left-armer, I should say. Who is he? And question 6, you will not be hugely surprised to know, is who's the other one? And the other one is the son of a left-handed Ashes winner, regular international match referee. What is his name? Who is the other bowler to have taken 2 test hat-tricks since the war? The son of a left-handed Ashes winner and regular international match referee. So I want those 2 in that order. The Pakistani left-armer is question 5. The other one, I'm not giving you any more clues. You've got quite enough clues to number 6, is number 6. Question 7. In 1994, the hapless Chris Scott was responsible for the most costly dropped catch in first-class cricket history. When he shelled Brian Lara on 18, Lara would go on to score, very famously, 501. The dropped catch had cost the monumental figure of 483 runs. Where did this historic moment take place? So 1994, Chris Scott, responsible for the most costly dropped catch in first-class cricket history when he shelled Brian Lara. It cost 483 runs, but where did that match take place? Where did Brian Lara score those 501 runs? Question number 8. In the English summer of 1947, 2 batsmen from the same county amassed, wait for it, 7,355 first-class runs between them, including 30 centuries. They each have a stand named after them at their home ground, placed, fittingly, side by side. Name them both. So the English summer of 1947, those 2 batsmen, 7,355 first-class runs between them, including 30 centuries. Eye-watering numbers, really. They each have a stand named after them at their home ground, side by side. Name both of those men. Question number 9. Of all the countries that have played Test cricket, only one of them won their first match. Who was it? So all those Test-playing nations that there have been since 143 years, only one of them won their first match. Who was it? And question 10. Which Yorkshire and England left-arm spinner, who was killed in Italy in the Second World War, once took 10 for 10 in a county match in 1932? So which Yorkshire and England left-arm spinner, who was killed in Italy in the Second World War, once took 10 for 10 in a county match in 1932? To make it a little easier for you, because it's quite a toughie, that one, he's also responsible for dismissing Don Bradman more times than any other bowler in Test cricket. That's a little clue for you. So that is question 10. And that is the end of round 1. Let me just recap them all very quickly for you. He scored 10,927 runs, was nicknamed Tugger. His brother scored 8,029 runs in Test cricket, was nicknamed Afghan. Who is he? Question 2, July 2009, which county ground was elevated to first class to Test status, I beg your pardon, for the first Ashes Test of that summer? It was rewarded with a thrilling draw as Monty Panesar and Jimmy Anderson held on to save the game. Question 3, who bowled the first ball to have been clocked at over 100 miles an hour? He bowled it in a World Cup match in 2003. Nick Knight pushed it out into the offside for a single. Question 4. February 2013, which Burley left-handed opener became the first man to captain his country in 100 test matches. He also claims most victories as captain with 51. Question number 5, only 2 bowlers have twice taken a hat-trick in test matches since the Second World War. One of them is a Pakistani left-armer. Who is he? And question 6, the other of those 2-time test match hat-tricks post-war is the son of a left-handed Ashes winner, regular international match referee. Who is he? What is his name? I want those 2 hat-trick heroes from post-war. 1994, Chris Scott shelled that catch off Brian Lara. It cost 483 runs as Lara went on to score 501. Where did it happen? Where did Brian Lara score his 501 back in 1994? In the summer of 1947, which I'm sure a few of you may remember, 2 batsmen from the same county amassed 7,355 first-class runs between them, including 30 centuries. They each have a stand named after them at their home ground. Side by side, these stands. Name both of those players. Question 9. Of all the countries that have played Test cricket, only one has won their first Test match. Who was that? And the final question this round, question 10. Which Yorkshire and England left-arm spinner who was killed in Italy in the Second World War once took 10 for 10 in a county match in 1932? With the additional clue, he dismissed Don Bradman in Test cricket more than any other man. So that is round 1. 2 points on offer for each question. Just to remind you, you can donate, and I hope you are donated to the Lord's Taverners. All the links are running along the bottom now, all the details that you need for that. So give as generously as you can. It's all hugely appreciated and for a truly terrific cause. Round 2, let's move on to round 2. And round 2 is a picture round. It's a guess the ground round. We're going to show you pictures of 12 grounds. Nearly all of them are test match grounds. What we want you to do is tell us, firstly, where that ground is, and secondly, what it is called. If they normally have a name. So where is it? What's it called? 1 point for each. Those 12 pictures coming up on your screen. Take a look at that, peruse that, mull over it, and I will be back shortly with round 3. Welcome back. Lord's Taverners quiz. We've had 2 rounds. We've had a written round. We've had those questions on the grounds, which I hope you've been filling in diligently. And of course, while filling in the answers to those questions, you will see the links on the bottom of your screen which show you exactly where you can donate. Because whilst it's a lot of fun, this is also, I hope, going to generate some money for a truly marvellous and very worthy cause that the cricket family could all get behind. So keep your eye on those links at the bottom of the screen and give as generously as you can. But let us move with not unseemly haste, I think, into round 3, which is another written round. Question 1 in round 3. Again, all these questions worth 2 points. In 2016, playing in his last Test match, which New Zealander broke the record for the fastest 100 in Test cricket, which he achieved off just 54 balls and against, I'm very delighted to say, a thoroughly cheesed off Australian attack? In 2016, playing in his last Test match, which New Zealander broke the record for the fastest 100 in Test cricket, which he achieved off 54 balls and against a very deflated Australian attack, let us say. Question 2. Which England veteran of over 130 matches holds the rather miserable distinction of being Shane Warne's 150th, 250th and 400th wicket in Test cricket? Which England veteran of over 130 matches holds the rather miserable distinction of being Shane Warne's 150th, 250th and 400th wicket in Test cricket? I mean, can you imagine having to endure those rather over-the-top celebrations? Once would be bad enough, but 3 times in your career. It's a miracle he kept going for long enough to be picked up for the 400th time, it seems to me. Anyway, there are many clues there. I think you should be able to get that one. Question 3. Now, don't get despondent because of the first 2 words, but in 1844, it gets easier. Against their next door, they played in the first official international cricket match. At the 1979 World Cup, they were bowled out by England for just 45 in 40.3 overs. Not most scintillating stuff. At the 2003 World Cup, they were bowled out by Sri Lanka for 36 in 18.4 overs. They're just getting worse. They started as one of the first teams in international cricket, one of the first 2 in 1844. By 1979, they'd been bowled out of the World Cup for 45. And then 24 years later, in 2003, they were bowled out for even fewer, 36 in 18.4 overs. Which country am I talking about? Okay. It's a long question, but there are clues in there for you. I remember listening to the 45 all out in the kitchen on a transistor radio. Mike Hendrick took a bunch of wickets. Anyway, let's move on. Question 4. On the 12th of September 2005, England quite glorious the Ashes for the first time in 18 years, a day I think all of us remember very fondly. The very next day, the 13th of September, which Zimbabwean was awarded British citizenship after the personal intervention of the then Home Secretary, Charles Clarke? So on the 12th of September 2005, England won the Ashes gloriously for the first time in 18 years. Very next day, which Zimbabwean was awarded British citizenship after the personal intervention of the then Home Secretary, Charles Clarke? And this is not a trick question. It isn't Robert Mugabe or anything like that. The clue is in the question. It's crickety. Don't forget, it's crickety. Right. On we move. Question 5. Which opening batsman scored 5 centuries at the 2019 World Cup in England, but failed to get his hands on the trophy? Which opening batsman scored 5 centuries at the 2019 World Cup in England last summer, but failed to get his hands on the trophy? So for a start, you can rule out anybody who's English because England got their hands on the trophy. Yabu sucks to the others. Question 6. Which legendary Surrey opening batsman in 1953, the year of the Queen's coronation, became the first professional cricketer to be knighted? Which legendary Surrey opening batsman in 1953 became the first professional cricketer to be knighted? Many of you will have walked through his gates at various times when watching cricket. Question 7. The Test match ground in St. Lucia is named after the only man to have come from that island, from St. Lucia, and been appointed captain of the West Indies. Who is he? Test match ground in St. Lucia is named after the only man to have come from that island and been appointed captain of the West Indies. Who is he? Again, not a trick question. It's not way back in the 50s. It's relatively recent. Question 8. At Auckland in March 1999, New Zealand fast bowler Jeff Allott batted for 101 minutes and faced 77 balls against South Africa before being dismissed by Jacques Kallis. What was record-breaking about his performance? So at Auckland, March 1999, New Zealand fast bowler Jeff Allott batted for 101 minutes and he faced 77 balls, not in itself that unusual, against South Africa, this match was, before he was dismissed by Jacques Kallis. What was record-breaking about his performance? Question 9. Apart from Graham Gooch, which other opening batsman has scored 333 in a test innings? Graham Gooch, of course, did it at Lord's back in 1990. The man in question, the one that we're searching for, the other opening batsman to score 333, achieved defeat in November 2010 against Sri Lanka and batted for just 437 balls, striking 34 fours and 9 sixes. Apart from Graham Gooch, which other opening batsman has scored 333 in a test innings, this man achieved defeat November 2010 against Sri Lanka. He batted for just 437 balls, striking 34 fours and 9 sixes. And the last question in this round, in round 3, question number 10. In 2014 against India at Trent Bridge, Jimmy Anderson made his highest test score of 81. The 10th wicket partnership that he featured in of 198 runs is a world record for that, for the 10th wicket. Who was his batting partner that day? 2014 against India at Trent Bridge, Jimmy Anderson made his highest test score of 81. 10th wicket partnership that he featured in of 198 runs is a world record. Who was he batting with? Who was his batting partner on that glorious day? So that is the end of round 3. You should have 10 answers to those questions. Shall I just run through them one more time in double quick order? Question 1, 2016, playing in his last test match, which New Zealander broke the record for the fastest 100 in test cricket, which he achieved off 54 balls against a very deflated Australian tack. Question 2, which England veteran of over 130 matches holds the rather miserable distinction of being Shane Warne's 150th, 250th and 400th wicket in test cricket? In 1844, against their next-door neighbours, they played in the first official international cricket match. At the 1979 World Cup, they were bowled out by England for just 45 in 40.3 overs. At the 2003 World Cup, they were bowled out by Sri Lanka for just 36 in 18.4 overs. Which country has been getting worse and worse and worse over the course of the best part of the last 200 years? Question 4. On the 12th of September 2005, England won the Ashes for the first time in 18 years. The very next day, which Zimbabwean was awarded British citizenship after the personal intervention of the then Home Secretary, Charles Clarke. Question 5, which opening batsman scored 5 centuries at the 2019 World Cup in England but failed to get his hands on the trophy? Question 6, which legendary Surrey opening batsman in 1953 became the first professional cricketer to be knighted? Question 7, Test match ground in St. Lucia is named after the only man to have come from that island and been appointed captain of the West Indies. Who is he? Question 8, at Auckland in March 1999, New Zealand fast bowler Jeff Allott batted for 101 minutes and faced 77 balls. This against South Africa before he was dismissed by Jacques Kallis. What was record-breaking about his performance? Question number 9. Apart from Graham Gooch, Which other opening batsman has scored 333 runs in a test innings? This man achieved the feat in November 2010 against Sri Lanka, batting for just 437 balls, striking 34 fours and 9 sixes. The last question in this round, in 2014 against India at Trent Bridge, Jimmy Anderson made his highest test score of 81. The 10-wicket partnership that he featured in of 198 runs is a world record. Who was his batting partner? So we've had 3 rounds. It's time for a short break. Round 4 coming up afterwards will be a mash-up round of players and faces. If you played the last quiz, you will be familiar with this. It's 4 players, and you get the sort of head, nose, mouth, chin. We need you to identify who those 4 players are. But first, we're going to take a short break. And while we do, please watch the following video about a really special young man called Kian, who is part of our Super Ones program. Kian struggles with anger issues and his mental health because of an issue that has affected him since birth. Since joining Super Ones, he is calmer, he's made friends, and he's a role model for young people experiencing similar challenges.
My name's Pauline James. I'm Kian's maternal grandmother. His mum is my daughter who had drug and alcohol problems, and this affected him at birth. She was unable to look after him, so we virtually had him from the day he was born. He finds it very frustrating because he doesn't understand a lot of what you say to him, and it takes him a while to process it. And during that time he gets very, very angry with himself and at other people, and the more you try and tell him something, the worse it gets.
It's helped me with my anger and my relationship and stuff, because I don't really have any friends outside of school. If I don't make friends or anything, it makes me so mad. It's like calmed me a bit, because normally I get really angry about stuff. And it's like really good for my aggression, because I can let all my aggression out and stuff. I don't really want to be let down by myself. I want to be helpful.
This is sort of like an outlet for it, and it's definitely helped him.
He's improved his anger issues, he's improved his confidence, he's slowly started engaging more and more at the sessions. He's come a long way from when he first started. Kian can be seen as a role model now for the other young people with disabilities, with anger issues, with mental health issues, that, you know, you can come to a Super Ones hub and you can not be judged.
As I've joined Super Ones, it's made me feel a lot friendly and happy and more friendshipy. But it's really nice to meet like different people and make friends.
Just seeing the empathy he shows some of these other children is absolutely amazing, and it's something I'd never seen in him before. It makes me feel so proud of him, because he does struggle every day with just being himself. And to see him do that, it's just, oh, it's amazing.
Welcome back, intrepid quizzes, and thank you for taking your time and trouble to be part of this superb Lord's Taverners online quiz, all for a good cause, all trying to raise money for the Lord's Taverners. All links that you need, you will see on the screen below you. And don't forget, we're trying to beat last time's target of £800. If we can get a bit more than that, that'd be great. Now, let us move swiftly on. We've had 2 written questions. We've had 2 rounds of written questions, I should say. We've had a round of those pictures of the grounds. Next up is the fiendishly tricky round. I say it's fiendishly tricky. Some of you find this round much, much easier than other rounds. I don't. So that's why I think it's tricky. So what we're going to show you is players. Name the players. All the photos were taken from an ICC photo shoot in 2004 with World Cricket Stars. So 2004, cast your mind back 16 years. There's your clue. Who might these 4 stars be? You will see very clearly on the graphic a forehead, eyes, nose, mouth, and chin. And very simply, I want you to tell us where we got those bits of head, eyes, nose, and chin from. Who are the 4 players represented in each of these 2 pictures? They're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4. You tell us the names and you get lots and lots of lovely points. And while you mull over that, we'll play a little bit of music. I'm going to go off and replenish my glass, and then I shall consume from my glass. I recommend that you should already have done that yourself. I'm imagining you will have done. And then after a modest amount of time, we'll crack on with round 5. So, welcome back. I am back. Charges are glassed. Glasses are charged. Let us move swiftly on into the fifth and final round. 10 more questions for you, 2 points for each question, and indeed for each answer, I suppose. Question 1 in round 5. Geraint Jones is now a firefighter, I discovered the other day. He was England's wicketkeeper in their glorious Ashes summer of 2005, but he's also played for another country, the country of his birth. What country? In essence, I'm asking you where Geraint Jones was born. I've just used a lot of words to do it, but I'll give it again. Geraint Jones is now a firefighter. He was England's wicketkeeper in that glorious Ashes-winning summer of 2005, but he's also played for another country, the country of his birth. Which country? Question number 2. Which West Indian umpire, who once played in goal in a schoolboy international against Brazil in 1964, has officiated at 5 Cricket World Cup finals? Which West Indian umpire, once played in goal in a schoolboy international against Brazil in 1964, has officiated at 5, count them, World Cup finals? In 2011, he scored the fastest 100 in World Cup history, reaching the milestone in just 50 balls, and in so doing, condemned England to a shock defeat. Who is he? Who is this scurrilous mountebank that brought England low? In 2011, he scored the fastest 100 in World Cup history, reaching the milestone in just 50 balls, and in so doing, condemned England to a shock defeat. Who is he? Question number 4. Which England player and daughter of a Nottingham Forest European Cup winning goalkeeper dropped an absolute sitter in the penultimate over of the World Cup final in 2017 off Anya Shrubsole's bowling? Fortunately for her and for a grateful nation, Shrubsole picked up the match-winning wicket with the very next ball. Which England player, daughter of a Nottingham Forest European Cup winning goalkeeper, dropped a sitter in the penultimate over of the World Cup final in 2017 off Anya Shrubsole's bowling? Fortunately for her, Shrubsole picked up the match-winning wicket with the very next ball. It was a shocking moment. I remember Charlotte Edwards on commentary, rather losing it somewhat. We were all a bit tense that day. Question number 5. In 2017, which West Indian batsman became the first man to score 200s in the same match at Headingley? His efforts ensured his side chased down 322 to win by 5 wickets in the 4th innings. And I don't mean just Test match. It was the only time this had happened in a first-class match at Headingley in 2017, when which West Indian batsman became the first man to score 200s in the same match at Headingley. West Indies won. They chased down 322, won by 5 wickets. Very bad light. I was commentating that game. It was a terrific, stirring effort from this man. When you think how many games Geoffrey Boycott played there, he never got 200s, but this fella did and became the first man to do so at Headingley. Question 6. Leslie Hilton, Hylton, who played in 6 Test matches for the West Indies between 1935 and 1939, died in 1955, aged 50. What unwelcome distinction does he have? Leslie Hilton, who played in 6 Test matches for the West Indies between 1935 and 1939, died in 1955, aged just 50. What unwelcome distinction does he have? It's a sort of know it or not, but I think there's some clues in there. There are a few clues in there. Question: in which West Indian country can you find the border ground? Bourda. Which West Indian country can you find the border ground? Little additional clue. The match scheduled to take place there in 1980-81 tour between England and the West Indies was cancelled because that particular country wouldn't allow Robin Jackman a visa. So if you remember that, you might remember the country. That's where the border ground is. Question 8. Which English wicketkeeper is the only man from any country to have stumped Sachin Tendulkar in a Test match? Which English wicketkeeper is the only man to have stumped Sachin Tendulkar in a test match? Question number 9. He played one first-class match for Essex against Lancashire at Liverpool in 1962. He made 0 and 0 not out, but he did pull off 2 catches and has the probably greater distinction of being the only member of England's World Cup winning football team of 1966 to play first-class cricket at all. Who is he? He played just the one first-class match. It was for Essex against Lancashire at Liverpool in 1962. He made 0 and 0 not out, but he did pull off 2 catches and has a distinction of being the only member of England's World Cup winning football team of 1966 to play first-class cricket. Who is he? And finally, the 10th and final question of round 5, the 50th and final question. I'm sort of getting nostalgic for the quiz already. This is the last question, and then you will be put out of your quizzing misery. Lala Amarnath in 1933, uh-oh, I hear you cry, and Surinder Amarnath in 1976 are the only father and son to have achieved what feat in a test match? Lala Amarnath in 1933 and Surinder Amarnath in 1976 are the only father and son to have achieved what feat in a test match? So to be very clear, many people have achieved this feat, but there's only been one father and son combination to have done it. Lala Amarnath did it in 1933. Surinder Amarnath did it in 1976. What is that feat? So, folks, there you have it. The final 10 questions. I'll run through them very quickly. Final 10 questions of the quiz. Round 5, question 1. Geraint Jones, the firefighter, England's wicketkeeper in that Ashes summer of 2005, also played for another country, the country of his birth. What country? Where was Geraint Jones born? Question 2. Which West Indian umpire once played in goal in a schoolboy international against Brazil in 1964 and has officiated at 5 Cricket World Cup finals? And by finals, I mean the final. I don't mean the tournament, the final. Question 3. In 2011, he scored the fastest 100 in World Cup history, reaching the milestone in just 50 balls, and in so doing condemned England to a shock defeat. There's your clue. Who is he? Question 4. Which England player, daughter of a Nottingham Forest European Cup winning goalkeeper, dropped a sitter in the penultimate over of the World Cup final in 2017 of Anya Shrubsell's bowling? Fortunately for her and for everyone else, Shrubsell picked up the match-winning wicket with the very next ball. I think it was Poonam Yadav was the initially lucky lady and then not so lucky next ball. Question number 5. In 2017, which West Indian batsman became the first man to score 200s in a first-class match at Headingley? His efforts ensured his side chased down 322 to win gloriously by 5 wickets in that 4th innings in the gloom just 3 years ago. Question number 6. Leslie Hilton played 6 test matches for the West Indies between 35 and 39. He died in 1955, aged 50. What unwelcome distinction does he have? He died in 1955. This is an unwelcome distinction. Question number 7. In which West Indian country can you find the border ground? Bourda. Question number 8. Which English wicketkeeper is the only man to have stumped Sachin Tendulkar in a test match? Question number 9. He played one first-class match for Essex against Lancashire at Liverpool in 1962. He scored 0 and 0 not out. He did take 2 catches, but he has the distinction of being the only member of England's World Cup winning football team of 1966 to play first-class cricket. Who is he? And finally, question 10, question 50, question 10 in this round. Lala Amarnath in 1933 and Surinder Amarnath in 1996 are the only father and son to have achieved what feat in a test match? The only father and son combination to have done that. So there you have it. 5 rounds gone. It's all over. Scribble down your questions, get everything all done, and soon we'll have the answers. But before I give you those answers to all the rounds, please take a short look at this video.
If I wasn't attending these wicket sessions, I would be sitting at home and doing nothing right now, or I'd be on the streets.
We are using cricket as a tool for social inclusion. I used to see the same kids standing about in the streets, throwing about bricks. Now, what do I see them? I see them play cricket in Maxwell Park.
With the Wickets programme, what it's done is you're getting rid of the problem without criminalising the young people.
He come out of his shell, he can now interact with others, and I see a lot of confidence in him.
It's nice to know that you do have a voice and like you can try and change things.
We have children here with severe autism. We also have children here with profound and multiple and complex needs.
For our kids to see that actually they can be independent, they can get outside the school gates. Without the minibus, we can't do that.
What it's given me is the chance to compete in sport, which is something I've always wanted to do and I never really thought I might get the chance to do.
It just gives you that concentration and those friends that you can spend time with.
Disability sport is amazing at bringing people together. It almost makes you grateful that you've got the disability.
Yes! If somebody had said to me 2 years ago, you will see Riley playing cricket, I have today.
When the delivery was arrived, the kids that basically collected the kit they were so appreciative of basically what they received because it was like Christmas for them.
Equipamento agora é só meu, vai ser o taco, vai ser meu, a luva, foi muito legal, muito bom.
It was just priceless, it doesn't have a value.
His condition that's been aided by cricket will not define who he is.
It's helped me with my anger and my relationship because I don't really have any friends outside of school.
The more connections you have, the more friends you have, because to be honest, you don't want to be on your own.
I didn't think this would ever happen, but now it is happening. And I'm getting a chance to move forward.
It's not just friends, it's family. This is family for me.
It's not just pride, it's just happiness, it's just contentment that he's got a purpose.
All we could see was what he couldn't do, whereas now we're beginning to see what he can do.
It gives everything, it means everything.
Okay, crew, well done, one and all. Welcome back. It's answers time. I know you have been on tenterhooks, wondering whether you got all them right, whether you got all them wrong. How many have you got right? How many have you got wrong? Now I'm going to put you out of your unearned misery. So let us begin with round one. 2 points for each question. Don't forget. He scored 10,927 runs and was nicknamed Tugger. His brother scored 8,029 runs and was nicknamed Afghan. Who is he? Well, of course, there had to be a war, didn't it? It had to be Steve War, Steve Tugger War. And why Afghan, you may wonder? Well, because apparently, this is Australian humour for you, the Afghan was the forgotten war. So there you have it. I often do wonder if I had a time machine, I might have gone back and just distracted their parents on the night that they were conceived and potentially saved the world from nearly 19,000 test runs. But I'm afraid that ship has sailed now. Question 2. In July 2009, which county cricket ground was elevated to test status for the first Ashes test? It was rewarded with a thrilling draw as Monty Panesar and Jimmy Anderson held on to save the game. Of course, it was Cardiff. Who could ever forget that? It was the Swalek Stadium in Cardiff. I will accept Sapphire Gardens as well. Question number 3. Who bowled the first ball to be clocked on a speed gun at over 100 miles per hour? It was delivered in a World Cup match in 2003. The batsman, Nick Knight, played it safely for a single. It was, of course, Shoaib Akhtar, the Rawalpindi Express, I think was his nickname. Question number 4. In February 2013, which Burley left-handed opener, I don't know why that's in Scottish, I don't think it's the word Burley, became the first man to captain his country in 100 test matches. Unsurprisingly, he also claims most victories as captain with 51. Who else could it be than the not particularly stylish but enormously effective Graham Smith, the man who broke the hearts of England captains, caused a number of them to resign? Graham Smith. Only 1 point if you spelt Graham wrong. It's very much a Graeme Smith, I believe. Question number 5. Only 2 bowlers have taken a test hat-trick since the Second World War. Two test hat-tricks in test matches since the Second World War. One of them is a Pakistani left-armer. Well, it had to be, didn't it? Wasim Akram was the Pakistani left-armer. But the other is the son of a left-handed Ashes winner and regular international match referee. Yes, of course, it's the tall, blonde and hugely impressive England opening bowler, along with Jimmy Anderson. It is Stuart Broad. The match referee being, of course, Chris Broad. In 1994, poor old Chris Scott, was responsible for the most costly dropped catch in first-class cricket history. When he shelled Brian Lara on 18, Lara went on to score 501. The dropped catch cost 483 runs. Where did this historic moment take place? Well, Brian Lara was, of course, playing for Warwickshire, and it was on his home ground at Edgbaston in Birmingham. Birmingham is acceptable. Edgbaston is also acceptable. Question number 8. In that English summer, that glorious summer of 1947, those 2 batsmen from the same county that amassed 7,355 first-class runs, including 30 centuries, they each have a stand named after them. There was your big clue at their home ground. This is the Lord's Taverners quiz. They're placed fittingly side by side. It's, of course, the Compton and Edrich stands I'm referring to. Dennis Compton and Bill Edrich were those 2 batsmen, 1 point for each. Question number 9. Oh, somebody may I. Question number 9. Of all the countries that have played Test cricket, only one of them won their first match. Who was it? Well, obvious way to work this out was who won the first match. If it wasn't a draw, and it was Australia. Australia won by 45 runs at Melbourne in 1877-78. And of course, when they had the centenary test 100 years back at Melbourne, the result, spookily, was Australia won by 45 runs again. What's the chances of that happening? So Australia is your answer. Question 10. Which Yorkshire and England left-arm spinner who was killed in Italy, Battle of Monte Cassini, I think, in the Second World War? He once took 10 for 10 in a county match in 1932. He also, incidentally, dismissed Don Bradman more than any other man in Test cricket. It is, of course, that genius, Headley Verity. Picked up 14 wickets in 1 match at Lord's in 1934. Headley Verity is your man. That's the 2 pointers. So that's the round 1. That's the answers to round 1. Now then, let's move on to round 2. It's Guess the Ground round. Guess the Ground round. Bit of unintentional rhyming there. I'll run through these, so just make sure you just tick these off against your answer sheet. Question 1, the Kensington Oval in Barbados. Number 2 is the Hagley Oval, Christchurch. Number 3, the Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai. Always be a bit careful with that one. Question 4, the Sydney Cricket Ground in Sydney. SCG is also fine. Question 5, the Kia Oval in London. I will accept the Oval in London because for most of my life it's been called the Oval. I know that's very off-brand, but I will accept the Oval, London. Number 6, Headingley, of course, Leeds. Number 7, the Basin Reserve in Willington or Wallington or Wellington, if you're actually going to pronounce it correctly. The Basin Reserve in Wellington. Sabina Park is number 8 in Jamaica. Trent Bridge, of course, Nottingham, that very distinctive tower block behind the scoreboard. Trent Bridge in Nottingham, number 9. The Melbourne Cricket Ground, or the MCG, or even at a pinch, if you put the G, I'll allow. I don't like it, but I'll allow it. The G in Melbourne, MCG. And the Rwanda Cricket Stadium in Kigali. That's a beautiful picture, isn't it? That's been being built up over the last 10, 12 years or so. It's been a fantastic project coming to fruition. I can't wait to go and see a game there. It'd be brilliant. And finally, number 12, Edgbaston, Birmingham. It's a lot of Edgbaston questions today. I'm sorry about that, but I might say I'm sorry. I rather like Edgbaston. It's incidentally got by far and away the best food for the press corps on the circuit. You always think of Lord's, but actually it's Edgbaston. The food is sensational. You get a carvery and a curry and a fish bar all for lunch. I basically have 3 lunches, and there's breakfast and there's tea. It is, if you get picked to do a test match at Edgbaston, I promise you, it is basically the greatest experience of your life. You come out about stone and a half heavier, but I'd say it's worth it. Right. You don't want to know about my eating habits. Sorry. Round 3. Let's move on. Round 3. In 2016, this is question 1 of round 3. In 2016, playing his last Test match, which New Zealander broke the record for the fastest 100 in Test cricket, which he achieved off just 54 balls and against a very deflated Australian attack. Of course, it was Brendan McCullum with his really thick forearms. Splendid player, Brendan McCullum. That's number 1. Number 2, which England veteran of over 130 matches holds the rather miserable distinction of being Shane Warne's 150th, 250th and 400th wicket in Test cricket? Well, it can only be one man lasting that long over that period. And he also cropped up in the last quiz we did he not? As the only man not to have scored the most number of runs without getting a double 100. Well, he's also got this distinction. It's Alec Stewart, the gaffer. Alec Stewart, A-L-E-C. If you put Alex Stewart, then you go into the naughty place. It's like people calling Alec Ferguson. It's Alex Stewart and Alex Ferguson. Alex Ferguson's got nothing to do with this, by the way. I just went off on a rant about that. The answer is Alex Stewart. If you put Alex Stewart, you're fine. You've got 2 points. Who was this country? 1844 against their next-door neighbours. There was your clue. They played in the first official international cricket match. At the 79 World Cup, they were bowled out by England for 45 in 40.3 overs. At 2003 World Cup, they were bowled out by Sri Lanka for just 36 in 18.4 overs. Which country has been getting worse and worse and worse? Well, it may surprise you to know that the first international cricket match, the first international tour, was between Canada and the United States. So if you did know that, you may be thinking, was it Canada or was it the United States? The answer is Canada. Canada is the answer to question 3. Question 4. On the 12th of September 2005, England won the Ashes for the first time in 18 years. Very next day, which Zimbabwean was awarded British citizenship after the personal intervention of the then Home Secretary Charles Clarke? It was not Canaan Banana. It was not Abel Muzarewa. No, of course it wasn't. It was England's coach, Duncan Fletcher, the coach of that Ashes winning team, is the answer to question 4 of round 3, Duncan Fletcher. Question 5. Which opening batsman scored 5 centuries at the 2019 World Cup in England but failed to get his hands on the trophy? They're quite sizable hands. I've shaken them once or twice. Won't be doing that for a while in the current corona circumstances, I would imagine. It is Rohit Sharma, who I believe for much of his career in India was rather cruelly called No-Hit Sharma, but he's turned things around a bit since then. 5 centuries, but didn't win the title. Rohit Sharma. Question 6. Which legendary Surrey opening batsman in 1953 became the first professional cricketer to be knighted? Who else could it be? There are gates named after him at the Oval. It is Jack Hobbs or Sir Jack Hobbs. Either is acceptable. Question 7. The Test match ground in St. Lucia that's named after the only man to have come from that island and has been appointed captain of the West Indies. Who is he? Who is the man after whom that ground in St. Lucia is named? It is Darren Sammy. Darren Sammy. Question 8. At Auckland in March 1999, New Zealand fast bowler Jeff Allott batted for those 101 minutes. He faced 77 balls against South Africa before being dismissed by Jacques Kallis. What was record-breaking about his performance? It is the longest recorded duck in Test history. He defied those South Africans all that time, and you know, it was good enough in the end for New Zealand to draw that match in batting all that time. They had to go. They had to follow on, but it'd taken enough time out of the game for New Zealand to escape. It was the longest duck in Test history. Question 9. Apart from Graham Gooch, which other opening batsman has scored 333 in a Test innings? He achieved the feat in 2010 against Sri Lanka, batted for just 437 balls, 34 fours, 9 sixes. Who else could it be? It's, of course, the universe boss himself, Chris Gayle, Christopher Henry Gayle. Chris Gayle is fine. We'll take Chris Gayle. Question 10, the last question in round 3. 2014 against India at Trowbridge, Jimmy Anderson made his highest Test score of 81. The 10th wicket partnership was 198. That was a world record. Who was his batting partner? Well, it's a man who's now his captain, little Joe Root. Joe Root batted with him throughout that record-breaking partnership. Now then, let's move on to round 4. It's that name the players round. Those photos taken from an ICC photo shoot in 2004. And it's what we call player face smash, is what I've been given in my notes. That's slightly more violent name for this round than one might have liked, but player face smash. The answer to number 1 is Glenn McGrath. That's the forehead at the top. Then you've got the very distinctive glasses of Daniel Vittori at number 2. We've had him earlier in the quiz. You can just about tell by the teeth, I think. I can see it now. Number 3 is Graham Smith. We had him earlier. And number 4, the eagle-eyed amongst you would have spotted that terribly tasteless bit of fluff just underneath the chin. Who else could it be than the man who got married on a white Charger, didn't he, on the beach, I think? Australia's former captain, now retired, in the commentary box, Michael Clark. Michael Clark is number 4. We'll move on to the next face smash, number 5. Who's at the top there? Who's the forehead in the second face smash? It's the wall himself, Rahul Dravid. Rahul Dravid is number 5. Number 6 is Sri Lankan opening batsman, left-hander, also bowled a bit, of course, Sanath Jayasuriya. Very well done if you got that. Number 7. Again, he's cropped up in the quiz before. And again, I can now see it. I can see it in the cheeks. Number 7 is Shoaib Akhtar, the man who bowled that 100-mile-per-hour ball. And right at the bottom there, Indian leg spinner, took 600-odd wickets, I believe, did he not? Anil Kumble. Anil Kumble is the answer to number 8. So just to run through those. Number 1, Glenn McGrath. Number 2, Daniel Vittori. Number 3, Graham Smith. Number 4, Michael Clark. Number 5, Rahul Dravid. Number 6, Sanath Jayasuriya. Number 7, Shoaib Akhtar. Number 8, Anil Kumble. That's round 4. 5th and final round coming up. Here we go. Answers. Geraint Jones, question 1, is now a firefighter. He was England's wicketkeeper in their glorious Ashes summer of 2005. But he also played for another country, the country of his birth. Which country? Papua New Guinea. If you got that right. It wasn't Wales, if you were thinking. He does have Welsh parents, but he has Welsh parents born in Papua New Guinea, played for England. And it turns out Papua New Guinea as well. So PNG or Papua New Guinea is the answer to question 1. Who's that West Indian umpire who played in goal in a schoolboy international against Brazil in 1964? He's officiated at 5 Cricket World Cup finals. Of course, it's Steve Buckner. I always love the way he gave people out, looking down as if he was disappointed with a finger pointing in the air. Steve Buckner. I miss Steve Buckner. I mean, he's still around, don't we? But I think we all miss seeing Steve Buckner. Question number 3. In 2011, who scored the fastest 100 in World Cup history, reaching a defeat at the milestone in just 50 balls, and in so doing condemned England to a shock defeat? Shock defeat was the clue, although England had a habit of messing up against minnows in World Cups, especially in 2011, actually. The minnow in question was Ireland, and the player in question was Kevin O'Brien. What an innings that was. 50 balls to get his 100 and helped get Ireland over the line there. Question number 4. Which England player, daughter of a Nottingham Forest European Cup winning goalkeeper, dropped a sitter, penultimate over the World Cup final in 2017 off Anya Shrubsole's bowling? Fortunately for her, Shrubbers picked up the match-winning wicket with the very next ball. Well, I don't know how you might have got to this. You might have known it, or you might have thought, hang on, wasn't Bryn Gunn the Nottingham Forest European Cup winning goalkeeper at some point? Yes, he was. And his daughter was Jenny Gunn. Jenny Gunn is the answer. Question number 5. In 2017, which West Indian batsman became the first man to score 200s in the same match at Headingley? His efforts ensured his side chased down 322 to win by 5 wickets in the 4th innings, and also earned me £5 for my commentary co-star that day, Graham Swan, as I bet him at tea that the West Indies were going to win. And in fairness to him, he handed it over straight after the close of play. You don't need to know any of that, but you want to know who scored those twin hundreds. The first man to get twin hundreds in a first-class match at Headingley was Shai Hope, S-H-A-I, Hope, H-O-P-E, Shai Hope. Terrific knocks they were too. Question 6. Slightly macabre one, this one. Well done to anybody who got it. Leslie Hilton, who played in those 6 test matches for the West Indies between 35 and 39, died in 1955, aged 50. What unwelcome distinction does he have? Well, he is the only Test cricketer to have been hanged for murder. That was one of the questions we thought was like really tough. So if you got that, really, really well done. Leslie Hilton was the only Test cricketer to be hanged for murder. That's the answer to question 6. In which West Indian country can you find the Border Ground? The country which cancelled the game in 1980-81 because of Robin Jackman's South African affiliations, wouldn't give him a visa. It is Guyana. Guyana. Guyana is where the Border Ground is. That's question 7. Question 8. Who's the only man to have stumped Sachin Tendulkar in a Test match? He's an English wicketkeeper. He should have played many more Test matches, one thinks. The Essex man, James Foster. Very well done. If you got that, James Foster, the only man to have stumped Sachin Tendulkar in a Test match. Question number 9. He played that first-class match for Essex against Lancashire. He didn't score any runs. He did get 2 catches. He has the distinction of being the only member of England's World Cup winning football team to play first-class cricket. Who is he? It is Geoff Hurst, or Sir Geoff Hurst, the man who got the hat-trick in the 1966 final. Played for Essex at one time. And lastly, an absolute stinker of a question, this one. Just in case some of you out there have got sort of 46 or 47, we thought we'd throw in a horror show. Lala Amarnath in 1933, Surinder Amarnath in 1976 are the only father and son to have achieved what feat in a Test match? They got 100 on debut. They're the only father and son to have got 100 on debut. So, there you have it. That is the end of the quiz. Well done to all of you who did very well. Well done to all of you who didn't do very well because you took part. And that is just as important. Thank you so much for being part of the quiz. And please, if you can, put your hands in your pockets. Whatever you've got, it doesn't have to be much, for this terrific cause, the Lord's Taverners. All details have been running across the bottom of your screen. We're looking to break our target of 800, which we got the last time. We'd love to get beyond that and up into 4 figures. I hope you can help us do that. It's been great fun putting all this together. I hope you've enjoyed it too. Who knows? We might even do another one in a few weeks. But until next time, from Shane Norcross here in Tooting, I'm going to go and recharge the glass again. The throat's getting a bit scratchy. Thank you so much for taking part. And bye-bye for now, I think we say in the trade.